Happy Wednesday, Georgian Bay, and welcome to this week's episode of The Scoop, your backstage pass to the people, stories, and conversations shaping our community. I'm Nadia Hovan, and today, Janene and I are flying solo again with a jam-packed show for you.
That's right. We're diving into poetry, storytelling, advocacy for women and children, and a music festival that promises to light up your summer.
I love all of that so much, and I think my favorite thing about just art in general is the stories they tell and trying to analyze the stories.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
Because you are that type of person.
I very much am that type of person.
Head over heels into the entire thing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so listen, do you have a specific memory or story or poetry that stuck with you?
Well, I mean, to be honest, storytelling is sort of the basis of everything that I do creatively. And I mean, I love watching everything from, dance that tells a story, especially like contemporary dance, where maybe they'll touch on something like mental health or like childhood trauma or something, in such a beautiful way. But if you're asking specifically about like a story or poetry, my mom, okay, when I was little, she used to read me bedtime stories. And to this day, I still remember because she used to bring her guitar out when she would read to my brother and I, and she would play the guitar and make up little songs to all of the little poems. So does anybody know like Jelly Belly or Alligator Pie? They're like a series of all these silly little poems, and and she would do voices. Oh my goodness, and voices. So stuffed animals. I can't even get rid of a stuffed animal because they tell stories. Like anything
that's so
I've ever made talk that has a personality.
Yeah.
Oh, I could go on. Storytelling. It is.
So this love of theater and art and poetry started with your mom?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. And my dad was a wordsmith, but yeah,
That's
my
awesome.
mom 1000% was the one who sort of, was there for us day in, day out. What about you?
Well, my story is not that elaborate, but honestly, I think one of the things I remember most is when my son was a toddler and learning to write or learning to speak, how I taught him to read or even to just recognize words was whenever we would go on our little drives and we would see a bus, I would sing it to him, like B-U-S is bus, C-A-T is cat, and that's how he really started understanding how to speak and everything, because I was very scared because as he was getting older, he wasn't really picking up on words quickly or even writing, and I was getting very frustrated. But turned out to be okay. He's 18. Yes.
And he can speak in full sentences.
He can speak and do a lot of good things. Yes. I'm a good mommy.
What a relief. I know we panic about that stuff in kindergarten. It's like they'll eventually learn,
They will. But it's such a good thing, yeah? All right. Well, we're speaking of words that stay with you. Our first guest is no stranger to storytelling.
Jillian Morris is an Indigenous writer, poet, and storyteller who spent the past 3 years as Collingwood's Poet Laureate.
A member of the Six Nations of the Grand River Territory, Jillian recently released her first book of poetry, a powerful collection that invites reflection on identity, culture, and connection.
Jillian, thank you so much for joining us today. Yay! Come on. So Jillian, let's start with your story. How did poetry and storytelling come into your life? How did you get started on your entire adventure in that world?
So that's a big question, right?
It's a big question.
It's such a big question, right? But I think, okay, when you guys were doing your introduction, I'm in the back, I'm listening, and I'm thinking, what stood out to me? What stories or poetry stood out to me as a young person? And I think for me, I had read when I was in university, Thomas King's book, The Truth About Stories. And in that, he starts that with, the truth about stories is that's all we are. Mm-hmm. It was so profound to me because I thought that is absolutely what we are. We are just a lot of micro stories patched together to create this beautiful tapestry that is our lives. And so I think when I started looking at things that way about how we're creating story, and then that we are the protagonists in our own lives, and how do we lead in a way that inspires others to lead a really good life.
Sego, Sego Guego. Greetings to all. My name is Jillian Morris. I am Ganyigahaga. I am a band member of Six Nations of the Grand River Territory. It is just outside of my community that the first residential school opened in 1828. A tribute to our stolen spirits. Show me where your prints took mold, the path that led to rest untold. The stolen breath of silent story, buried truth and allegory. Lament for sacred ones defiled. I hear you now, my kindred child. Your whispered song begets a choir, across these lands, united fire. May peace be sought beyond this sphere, as tenacious warriors hold memory dear.
When I was 12 or so, I moved back to Six Nations. So my parents were both born and raised in Six Nations, and so they were both born and raised there, but both born and raised in the church. So it was a very interesting thing. I think when people think about Indigenous people living on reserve, they think that we're all growing up in the culture, in the traditions, and all of that, and that's not always true. So there's a big church presence in Six Nations as well. And so I did find that when I moved back there, and at such a pivotal time, because I think, you're just coming into you're so hormonal at this time, you're coming into puberty and all of these things are happening. And you're already searching for that, where do I belong? Who are my people? And to move back to the reserve at that time and be introduced to the term apple as one of the first things that I was called. And
Apple?
yes,
As
and that
in,
means yes, but red on the outside, white on the inside.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was I hadn't either at the time. And so I think it was really jarring to me to think that I was moving back, because in my eyes, I thought I was moving back to my people and to all these people that were just going to accept me because this is where I come from.
Right.
Both my parents are here. All four of my grandparents were born and raised in Six Nations. So it was very interesting to me to realize that, acceptance isn't just offered generously. You have to earn it in some way. And of course, after a few years, you just everybody forgets that you were, returning home and that, but and you just belong, I guess, at some point. But that was really tough. And that's actually where I started my poetry writing, was trying to understand what was happening to me internally by having been exposed in that way to my own community. Mm-hmm. And so it was tough, and I don't want to make it sound like it was all bad, because it wasn't. There was so much beauty as well, returning home like that, because I got introduced again. I always knew who I was, I always knew where I was from, but I wasn't as connected to the land and to the stories and to all of the beautiful things that come out of my culture. And so yeah, all of that was a part of poetry being born within me, and I think trying to understand all of that, I use poetry as a way to work through feelings and work through those challenges, and also the beauty of it also.
Yeah. Right. And then from there, after growing up, how did your career expand into making this like a full-time?
Oh gosh, not what you'd expect, because I actually went. I had my daughter when I was 19, so I was a young mom, and that lit a fire in me that I can't explain. I think she was such a blessing to me at that time, because I perhaps wouldn't have been going down the best path otherwise, and she definitely grounded me and made me understand that now you got some duties to take care of. And so I went to college, and I actually started working for the federal government, and I worked there for 13 years. Wow. So in administration. So it wasn't the path that I was originally planning, but I had somebody to take care of now, and that became my priority. And so that's where my career started. And then while in working for the federal government, I wanted to go back to school, because I had now at college, but I wanted a degree. I wanted to move up, and the intention was to move up in the federal government. But yeah, I actually went back to university, and I went back to a program that was partnered between First Nations Technical Institute and what was then Ryerson University. Mm-hmm. And so I had 80% Indigenous professors, and I learned, again, so much more about our stories and about our culture and things like that, and then understanding how it can be so relevant today and can be such a compliment to the world that we live in. And so that's where I got back into writing, and then eventually I quit my government job and said, you know what, this is what I want to do. I want to tell stories, I want to write, and I want to connect people. And I don't want people to feel like I felt when I went home.
Right.
Yeah, that's important.
Well, you just spent the past 3 years as Collingwood's Poet Laureate, and then you released a book of poetry. I want to talk about this. What was this like putting a collection like this together?
Oh gosh, daunting. Daunting is probably the first word that comes to mind.
Yeah.
But it's so vulnerable, right? And writing a book of poetry was not really on my priority list, but people were kind of asking for it as where's your book? Where's your book? So I thought, okay, well, I guess maybe I should have a book. So I put it together, but it was hard. It was hard to just know that now it can just be out in the world. I don't know where it is, and I don't know who's looking at it, and it's a little bit scary, but also very humbling.
So let's talk about what it's like to be an artist, especially a writer. So like, are we talking, you're sitting with your coffee and you're doodling on napkins? I know that was like a thing for me, song lyrics, whatever, ideas. You're like, I have this idea. And you literally jot it down on like a napkin and then you tuck it in. And then, like, how do all those little bits and pieces suddenly become a book?
Together.
Yeah, absolutely. So my husband would tell you that, yes, there's like paper everywhere. And yeah, I love handwriting most of my things first, and then I'll type them. But yeah, that process is just really, I listen to a lot of like movie scores and different things like that while I'm writing, because I just love that. And sometimes you get this big crescendo and you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna write something good today.
Yeah.
So I try to just find that inspiration when I sit and write. So I create the environment that I want.
Perfect.
And then the subject matter that's within this book, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Can you give us a little reading of one of the poems from in here?
Sure.
Sure. Do you have a favorite?
Well, if we're talking about storytelling, I'll read the last poem in my book, and it's about the cornhusk doll, because the cornhusk doll is an actual traditional story of ours, and it's related to vanity, really, and about the cornhusk doll being created, and she was supposed to be caring for the children, but she kept wandering off and sitting by the water to look at herself, because all the kids told her she was so beautiful over and over and over again. So eventually, her face is actually taken away, and that's the cornhusk doll to this day does not have a face when they're created. Right. So this poem is a reflection of it's called Reflections of the Cornhusk Doll. So my faceless state is a gift bestowed, a teaching I leave to you to decode. You may reject the sentiment I extend, indulge me and I will aptly defend. I was given a duty to care for the young, told stories, played games, songs were sung. The challenge did come with a vote of praise. She's beautiful, came the repeated phrase. Curiosity called, the water would show, but only the surface and not what's below. Priorities changed, I could not depart. Shallow waters had enraptured my heart. The children did suffer, I had to concede, abandoning those I was meant to lead. Drifting from Creator's intended design, I let vanity cloud my once good mind. He warned these ways would see an end. I did not heed, and my fate was penned. A legend created a long time ago. I'm grateful for it and what I now know. My ears, they are gone, but I have heard all that I need for a purpose assured. My mouth was removed, and still I speak. My story, a message for all to seek. My eyes, they were taken, and yet I see that beauty is held in the love that we breed. Take the lessons with you, bundle with care. No worth is encrypted in the gifts you share.
Wow. I think that was pretty universal, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that is one of those things that is a good realization, is that Indigenous stories, and as old as some of them are, because we have the Peacemaker story, which is supposed to be 1,000 years old, and it's been orally transmitted over all those generations. They're still valid today. They're still relevant today. There's still so much to learn from those stories today. And so that's what I really hope to do, is to continue sharing that with people, so that we understand that there's absolute possibility for bridges to be built between cultures and peoples.
100%. Well, Jillian, thank you so much for sharing with us your voice and your truth with us today. Wow.
Yeah. Up next, we're shifting from the written word to creative action with a look at how art is being used to support women and children right here in our community.
We'll be joined by two powerful women from my friend's house who are turning advocacy into impact and using creativity to spark change.
You won't want to miss this. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to The Scoop. It's time for our Let's Talk About It segment where we shine a light on the conversations that matter most in our community.
My Friend's House is a vital organization supporting women and children across the Georgian Triangle affected by abuse. And this September, they're hosting their second annual fundraising gala, the HeART of Red Gala. Got it? Because there's no art without heart.
Got it, girl. I get it. Joining us today are Events and Community Relations Manager Ciara O'Connell and Kelly Gale, one of the featured local artists whose work will be auctioned off that evening. Ladies, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Yay!
Okay, ladies, thank you so much for joining us today. And for anyone who may not know, can you just give us a little bit of information as to what My Friend's House is all about?
Yes, so My Friend's House is a 12-bed violence against women shelter that help women and children who are fleeing abusive situations in the 5 communities we serve. So Collingwood, Clearview, the Blue Mountains, and Meaford. And we help support women in need. And we've been doing it since 1991 with an effort to provide compassion, inclusivity, and trauma-informed care. Last year alone, we actually received 4,500 crisis calls.
Wow. And a 12-bed facility.
Yes, yes. So the demand has gone up, but unfortunately, we need the support of the community to help support that demand.
Yeah, I hear that number, and I'm just thinking, what happens to all these other people who are not able?
Yes, and those are the women that actually call. So obviously we want to build that awareness piece too. So we want to make sure that people are aware that if they're in a situation like this, that they have the ability to call. So yes, is it a crisis level? Yes, absolutely. And it ties in with affordable housing. So is there enough housing for the women who are then transitioning to the second stage? So they've been at our shelter, but where they go from there?
Okay. Oh, I was going to ask a follow-up question, but I think I may ask that later. You said a second stage. So like once these women are in your facility, do they then move on to a different facility or move out on their own? Or
yes, we try to transition women typically after an 8-week period of staying with us, but sometimes because of the lack of affordable housing, they have to stay with us longer. But the goal ultimately is to transition them to second stage housing. So that is whether we have partnerships with the community, such as Living Waters Resort is one of our partners, also with compassionate landlords, or just out of the community, depending on if they have children or not. So we have a fantastic team at the shelter. We have a program manager, and then of course we have our workers who tirelessly work to support the women in these vulnerable situations.
Okay.
The other interesting thing that you had said as well is out of those beds, that is what's available. But out of how many, the numbers are
staggering,
unbelievable. But that's the people you said that reach out.
Yeah.
So again, what do you do if you're suffering in silence again, and you're afraid? You are when you go through this. You're afraid to even talk about it or whisper about it.
Yes.
Because it is a delicate subject, and you don't know who's watching, and you're afraid to share stories sometimes.
Our goal is to make it, people want to talk about it, and that there is a service available, so they don't suffer in silence. Right. I mean, that's our goal. Is you shouldn't suffer like that because there is a service available. So we want to make sure women feel empowered and having that courage to call, pick up the phone. And it might not be emergency shelter service they need. They might need just legal support or transition support or just, counseling support. So it's all different, areas of ways that they can help, that we can help. So we hope that the subject matter is no longer something that people don't want to talk about. Right. Like it's as you can see, you hear about it on the news all the time. I mean, one in every 6 days, a woman is murdered by their intimate partner. So we have to start talking about it. We can't just keep it silent. And I think it's super important to bring that awareness to the forefront, and also help support the shelter through these community events. Like, the community is the backbone of our shelter. We really couldn't do and have the critical service that we have without the community, whether that's local businesses, volunteers, the artists for interest in this community. So we count every dollar, every donation helps. Everything you do can make an impact. So we really rely on the community to make that impact.
Okay, I'm just going to switch gears to Kelly. So Kelly, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what drew you to be a part of this organization?
Well, I'm such a creative person, and with my music and my art, I've always felt it's really important to give back. And when you know about causes like this, there's broken women and broken families in the community, so it really touched a place in my heart that I just wanted to jump in and help. And again, the healing power of music, the healing power of art. And it's this, like you said and shared, the community coming together for an event like this, with a Quartetto Gelato, and it'll be a wonderful night. But collectively, that group of people on site that could purchase a painting, can donate to this cause, that's the bigger picture, not just a night, the rest of the year. So you feel like you're part of something so special, like what makes me happy to donate a painting and do something like that. But it also keeps programs like this going, and the need and the ask is so big because, again, like you heard with the numbers, you feel like you've got a little piece of it, but the community coming together, it's powerful to keep this going year round, I think. And it's fun because the artwork is so varied, right, with different styles. And for me, I'm going to be doing some fun chairlift paintings with families on chairlifts and things like that. So again, happy, feel-good art, and ultimately hopefully a great outcome from the evening. And again, looking forward, hopefully a great 2026 with the possibilities of what's possible to help these broken, these broken women and families that kind of cover it up with tissue paper. It's such a sensitive subject to talk about, but just wonderful things that you do. And again, thanks for the opportunity to come on and talk about it, even here on the show. It's important, and it's going to be a great event.
It's going to be
it'll be a fun. It is a fun night.
I think that's the other side of it. Like, that's the other side. The other side is that
to get excited about.
Exactly, and I think we do 2 signature events each year. We have the Ultimate East Coast Christmas Party, which is on Wednesday, but then we also have this HeART of Red Gala, which we're so passionate about. And it was brought upon by one of our dedicated supporters, Peter Burgess, who came to us just dedicated to the cause. And from there, it just grew. Amazing. And we were so lucky. The feedback from the community was amazing, especially artists. Yes. We donate 50% back to the artists. So whoever donates a piece, we then give money back to them, and then 50% goes to us. So we feel like it's more of a partnership. We don't want artists to feel like their work isn't valuable. They want to make sure that it's valuable. We really support artists, but we also want to help.
So this is interesting. So like art and advocacy coming together. Yes. So how did you guys come together, collaborate for this event?
Yes, well, it was just an idea that came to the forefront based on, in the past, September has been our longest or our biggest fundraising month. In the past, we had the Red Shoe Walk, Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, which was a national campaign that's been going on for many years. And then we decided to pivot a little bit, and we started to call it Paint the Town Red. So this idea of Paint the Town Red during the month of September came about. And Peter came to us. He's like, I really want to do something to give back to the community, and especially to help my friend's house. And so we came up with this idea along with our amazing volunteers. We have a tremendous volunteer committee who came up with the idea of a HeART of Red Gala, merging art with compassion. And we decided that this is the best way to support one of our big fundraising events. So
and the venue is fabulous.
The venue, Side Launch have been absolutely fantastic. Yes. They're such a fabulous community partner. They're so dedicated and really supportive of us. They've been fantastic this year as well, so we're really excited. And last year, through our silent auction, we raised over $18,000 just in the artwork alone. So $63,000 overall, including our local partners, which we couldn't do without. We have amazing community partners. We have about 12 so far. We have Paul Chapman is one of our, he's with RBC Private Wealth Group, and he's one of our title sponsors for our kitchen party as well as our HeART of Red Gala.
And it's set to music. There's this night is going to come alive with Quartetto Gelato.
Oh yes, that's the big thing. We have this new group. They're called Quartetto Gelato. Thank you so much, Kelly. They are going to be fabulous. I'm super excited about them.
I'm excited about this.
Yeah. They're actually a quartet that's a little bit different. They're a fusion of contemporary classical music, and they're very humorous and they're really good at engaging the audience. So
Amazing.
they're going to be fabulous. So it's very
And the
exciting.
acoustics at that venue are
Acoustics,
phenomenal.
yes,
Yeah.
So
It's a great way to put a fun spin on
the situation.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So for anyone watching who wants more information or to get involved, how can they?
I guess the best way is to go onto our website, myfriendshouse.ca. We have a link under news and events, and there is HeART of Red Gala. So all the information will be updated on that website, including when tickets will go on sale. The event is actually on September 20th at Side Launch at 7:30. So once we have tickets launched, we'll make sure to communicate that on the website. But if you want to help in different ways, it's all on our website. So that's probably the best way the community can be involved.
Well, I'm sitting here and I'll be on the fence as to whether this stays in the episode or not. Okay, this will be on the fence because I'm sitting here and all of this is very very close to home for me. It's very impactful for me because I think from firsthand experience, being somebody who never would be somebody who would be a victim of domestic abuse. I never thought I was. I'm too strong. I'm too feisty. I'm too self-assured. I'm too smart until I wasn't.
Well, we learned that no one's immune.
No.
Unfortunately, it's not on us. It's not on you. It's not about how strong you are. It's about the person who's perpetuating that abuse. And I think that's what's key, is that we no longer have to take that stigma of like, why is it me? No, it's about them. And I think that's what's prepared. We have to teach our sons, our next generation, that it's not right. That this is not right.
Absolutely.
And then there's the verbal abuse.
Well, and that's just it.
There's different levels of that where it isn't seen, and it's and it's a lot of
Subtle.
questions.
And it's the excuses you make for it because it's not that bad.
Yeah.
It can be good. Well, it depends on who's gaslighting.
Yeah.
Because it could be horrible, and then all of a sudden within 180 it's like, hey, here's some how are you doing? So it's that you're always off. So there is it's hard to know when the time is to reach out to my friend's house or say, today's enough, because you're broken. Like you really are, and you put up, again, I said that tissue paper front, but you smile. How are you today? Great, really good. But within a second, you're broken down to tears because it's in the quietest moments. And that healing takes years and years. Yeah,
and that's our goal, is to help women heal from that broken situation.
It's a minute at a time sometimes.
Yeah, we want to make them whole again. I think that's what we can provide those services. And that's where we have the experts in the field that can provide those services, that provide counseling and psychological help and help for children as well.
And again, what an inspiration as you sit here now looking back at your sister self going through everything. How proud are you of everything and how far you've come? And it's every minute, and you can regress in a blink, but it's
the start of a truck.
Right? Yeah. And it just I can see in your eyes, and there's a lot of I've experienced things as well, and it's not easy, and we keep a stiff upper lip and we shine on. But it's those quiet moments that you'll never get over, ever. And it is those subtle triggers. And again, I just wish more women knew, like, to imagine if we had 25 women sitting here going, wait a minute, like, can I say, like, I kind of have that feeling. Is that okay? Is that enough to call? Is that enough of a case to call? Oh, it'll be fine. We'll go through it. We'll just have a nice dinner and it'll all go away. I'll do the laundry and clean the house really nicely. Yeah. But it's knowing when that time to reach out is as well,
I think I'd be doing, my position here right now a disservice if I didn't say, like, it happened to me, and it can happen to you, and it can be stopped and you can walk away from it, but sometimes you can't, because sometimes children, financial situations will keep you trapped in in something that is unsafe.
And you're vulnerable to say, this happened, and I wasn't the perfect mom. How can I keep our children going? And it's their father, or sometimes it's the reverse. Sometimes it's men going through it with a spouse. It just depends on the dynamic of the family, but it takes a while, but it does take a village. And how wonderful to have, I mean, how lucky are we in the Blue Mountains to have something like my friend's house, when you think of the numbers and the need and the ask, it's unbelievable. But we all kind of go around in silence, covering up all of our little wounds and things. But thank you too for, it's hard to share and put it out there, and just say it was me, or, and I went through this, but again, years later, the children look back and go, Mom, we're so proud of you. Right. Those are the gifts, right?
You're making me really cry.
But those are the gifts too, is when you're sitting on the other side, kind of looking back, you went through it, but boy, you should be just so proud. So proud.
And proud of them.
You can do it. You can.
You can.
You absolutely can.
Yeah.
Don't be ashamed.
And again, you can also listen to Quartetto Gelato and make a difference to my friend's house. And we always have to find the smiles through the tears, I think, too, right? So not to belittle it all. It's just there's brighter things to come.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Ciara and Kelly, thank you so much for coming today and for sharing your story and teaching us all about everything you're doing to support women and children in the area.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
From art with heart to music under the stars. Up next, we're talking summer festivals, live performances, and a weekend that promises nothing but good vibes.
The power couple behind Four Winds Music Fest joins us when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
We won't go.
Thank you, ladies, so much.
I was trying my best not to break.
I know. Yeah. If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, help is available. My Friend's House offers free confidential support to women and children living in the Georgian Triangle. You are not alone.